Hi everyone, welcome to video number 2 of my little aromatherapy for grief and loss and end of life. So if you haven't watched the first one, it is actually a little live video, but I've set up a series under my video tab here on Instagram. So I'm just pre-recording this one. So some of them will be pre-recorded and some of these videos will be live, but it's just a little bit later in the evening. So I thought I would just pre-record this one. So so I'm just basically going to share some bits and pieces with you as I go along in this little short continuing professional education course that I'm doing at the moment, because it's really super interesting and it's something that I guess in my work I am really interested in, and I kind of love working in this area. So just helping people through grief and loss in various ways. So the first part of this course is about grief, and I guess that initial sort of part of grief that we experience. And so in this first sort of module, we've been talking about the theories of grief, the physical and emotional elements, and then just some essential oils. So I'm going to go through and talk about each of those just very briefly. I'm going to try and keep these videos as brief as possible so you can just come back and watch them whenever you would like. So before I get into it, and I'll probably say this a lot throughout these videos, and I say this a lot just generally anyway, and that is that everybody's experience is different. So some of these things might resonate with you, some might not. So just take what you need and what feels right for you. And if you have any questions at all, do not hesitate to put them in the comments below or to send me a message, and I will be more than happy to answer if I can, or point you in the right direction to somebody who can help you. So let's just talk about some of the theories of grief. And again, this is just like going to be a very brief summary. So if you want more information, please let me know. There are a few different theories of grief that we looked at in this course. And some of them you will have heard of, some of them you may not. But we've got the 5 stages of grief, which I'm sure many of you are probably aware of. It's quite a common sort of theory. Then there's another one called the 4 tasks and phases of grief. There's a theory that talks about us growing around our grief, and that is a way of just kind of, I guess, working through it, but just a slightly different perspective. And there's another one that was called the 6 R's of grief. So I won't go into those in detail, but if you would like to know more about those, I could do a separate video just explaining each of those a little bit. I really resonate with the growing around grief theory, but there might be another one that works better for you, that feels right for you in your situation. So some of the physical and emotional elements that come along with grief, especially in that kind of initial stage, but really I guess throughout the whole process, which in a way never ends. So we've got shock and disbelief. We can feel angry, anxious, sadness, despair, depression, acceptance. These are some of the big sort of, I guess, emotional elements of grief, along with many others, of course. And some of the physical elements that we don't often talk about as much, I find. But some of the physical elements that come along with grief are changes in hormones, in our blood pressure, even in just the way we breathe. Our sleeping, of course. We can suffer from really bad muscle tension, headaches, and just that thing of not being able to think clearly, so really losing that focus. It can affect our weight. We can feel pain in our bodies. It can affect our digestion. We can feel exhausted, and dehydration is actually another one as well. Again, these are probably just a small list. There's many ways that grief can affect us, from being quite extreme. So yeah, many ways that grief can affect us, and it can be just, in one area it might not affect us so much, and in another area it might affect us a lot. So yeah, as I said in the beginning, everybody is different. Let's just touch on 7 essential oils that can really help in those initial stages of grief, and in fact throughout the process. But these are the 7 that we touched on in this course, and again there are many more. So the first one is neroli. So that is a really beautiful oil for shock, and it's very calming and soothing. It's almost like the rescue remedy of essential oils. Then we have lavender, which is beautiful for that immediate sort of crisis that you might be feeling. Then we have frankincense, which is a beautiful oil for breathing. It's good for panic, and it has a really beautiful spiritual element too. And then we have rose, which is a lovely oil for the heart. It's very soothing, very calming, very healing. Then we have vetiver, which is a beautiful, just stabilizing, grounding essential oil. Really good for shock and trauma. And then we have sandalwood, which of course has a spiritual element as well, but is also very calming and grounding and really good for sleep. And then the last one we just touched on was cypress. And cypress is really just a beautiful comforting oil, and also a lovely strengthening oil. So any of these oils by themselves or blended, like you might choose 2 or 3 to blend together, but we'll get into that a little bit more later on. I'll talk about some blends that we can use for different things. So that is all I will share with you for the moment. I think that is just a beautiful introduction into some essential oils for grief. And as I said earlier, if you have any questions at all, please just leave them below, or send me a message if you don't want to, write them publicly below the video. I will be more than happy to answer any questions, or, any comments or thoughts that you've got as well. I would love to hear them. Thanks very much for watching, and I will just continue to add to this little video series over the next few weeks. Thanks guys, bye.